Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the Silverlake Priestess Podcast. I am your hostess, Jaime Black, and I am here with Jillian Cook of Forest and Fawn Alchemy. Welcome, Jillian, for joining us. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. So, the name of this podcast is Professional Witchery. So, I've been interviewing the different women, different priestesses, magicians. I'm going to be interviewing witches. So Jillian is one of my witch sisters, magicians and witches together. We met in one of Naha's classes, and Naha's already been on the show. So we met over at House of Intuition in one of Naha's classes a couple years ago. And we've just had this really fun journey of getting to be friends and studying and learning together and reading tarot cards together at the House of Intuition. And so she also is on this journey of creating her own magical business. And so we're going to talk about all of those things. And I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so excited that you invited me on.
Yes. So we're going to talk about the term witch. Let's just start with, what does it mean to you? What does it mean? What does the term witch mean to you?
Yeah, well, for me, it's a very potent word, and it has a lot of meaning for me. So this probably won't be a short answer. But, since I was a child, I had a fascination with witches and their magical powers. And, of course, as a child and I was a female, I looked for strong female archetypes, characters to look up to. And with Wonder Woman, Charlie's Angels, and witches, those were really who I found as kind of my women that held power and I looked up to as a child. So now when I use the word witch, I feel like it's me stepping into my power when I call myself a witch. And it really is an empowering feeling that then, whatever we feel on the outside really reflects, whatever we feel on the inside reflects outwardly. So that's one aspect of what the word witch means to me. The other is a connection to my ancestors. So I think about, my grandmothers and especially those that would have lived during the burning times and how the word witch was actually used against them to take away their power. And so when I use the word witch, for me, I kind of see them rising up with me, getting some of that power back. And then lastly, I would say that the word witch holds meaning to me because there are so many women starting to use that word witch, and it creates a sisterhood, it creates a coven of women that when we use that word together, we're even more powerful, we're even stronger together. So that's what the word witch means for me.
Oh, I love that. I'm loving that experience lately as well also.
Mm-hmm.
It really is this term of endearment with
Mm-hmm.
us, and it is definitely claiming our power back. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So when did you first know?
I was kind of a late bloomer on knowing that I was a witch. But when I think back to when I was younger, like one of the stories I always talk about was when I was a child, our house had a forest behind it. And right as you walked into the forest, not too far in, there was a little bit of a clearing with a rock there, a big rock. And I would collect things like acorns and feathers and flowers and agates or a pretty leaf. And I would put them on this rock together. So I was basically creating an altar, but I didn't know that, of course, as a child. Really, I had imaginary friends in the forest, like little animal friends. And so I was leaving gifts for the animals on this rock. But now I watch myself build an altar, and it's literally very similar to the way I did that as a child. And then also there was a time when my sister was really sick, and I remember I was raised Catholic. And so my dad said, you know, let's go pray for your sister. And we were going to bed. So we said the prayer to heal my sister. And in the morning we woke up and her fever was gone and she felt so much better. And that to me just struck me as being so magical that I could just say a prayer and, you know, that would happen. And my parents kind of encouraged that. They were like, wow, you have magical prayers, you know? So I thought I was pretty special in that way. And then it probably wasn't until about 5 or 6 years ago that I feel like I really understood what it meant to be a witch. And it wasn't the things we see on TV and the movies of, you know, being able to turn someone into a toad. It's really about, you know, creating the magic internally so that you create the world that you want to live in externally. And that to me is more of how I see myself as a witch now. And yeah, I really didn't start calling myself a witch until probably 5 or 6 years ago.
I'm thinking, this is definitely like going into some of the questions that I'm going to ask you, because obviously I met you in magical training, where the focus was on, you know, being a magician and
yes,
you know, all the witchery, which ultimately it's, you know, it's all the same thing. It's wanting to identify with that makes you feel identified and makes you feel like you have the most power or you're the most recognized with just to your own self, whatever that is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we were studying magic together, and I was thinking, especially since it's only been, you know, maybe like 5 years that you've like claimed that terminology with yourself, do you feel like studying the magic helped with that work? Because
absolutely. Yeah.
I do feel that the way that we were studying, all of that is like, it's very structured, and there's a way to really study and learn what it is that you're doing and learn how to do this internal alchemy, which is an awesome component to have with this. So when did you find the magic? When did you start studying magic?
It was about 5 or 6 years ago. It was my first kind of step onto the path was I went to a Kundalini yoga class. And the word Kundalini, if you don't know, means uncoiled or coiled one in Sanskrit. And so the Hindu belief is that there's this primal energy that sits at the base of our spine. And by doing Kundalini yoga, we raise that energy up our spine and up through our chakras. And so it's supposed to be an awakening of this primal energy within us. And I feel like I had that experience when I went to that Kundalini yoga class. Like, I could not believe how good I felt. And I just felt changed. I mean, I felt I had been awakened. And that was the first step. And I realized really quickly that feeling would go away from me if I didn't keep doing the yoga. And so I became a Kundalini yoga teacher. And when I was in training was when I found Naha and started studying with her. And my first class with her was actually the tarot classes. That was my first one with her. And from there, I just wanted to take every class I could find on magic. And yeah, I mean, the tarot cards, as I like to say, they're really more than just a divination tool. They really are, you know, working with connecting deeper within yourself. And when you do that, you almost can't help but see magic within yourself and all around you. So that's really where it started for me.
And herbalist start working with?
So as I was learning, you know, tarot, I was learning crystals, I was already a yoga instructor. So I love learning. I remember my mom asking me in college, like, what do you want to do with, what do you want to do with this education? And I was like, I just want to keep going to school. I just love learning. And so when I got a taste of a little bit of, these classes in the magic, I just wanted more and more and more. And being someone who feels so connected to the earth and nature, even with all the stuff I had learned, I felt still that there was something missing. And that's when I found my herbalism teacher, Jaimes, down in Long Beach, Green Wisdom Herbal Studies. And that kind of completed for me what I needed in my magical workings, was adding in the herbs and the plant folks.
That is a direction that I'm wanting to go.
Oh, really?
My herbalism thing, yes.
Yeah.
As far as getting full on classes.
Yeah.
Program that you took, yeah. So how would you say that all of this changed your life? What I know about you is that you worked a corporate job for a very long period of time, and that you have totally changed your life from all of this. So what happened to you?
So as I had these amazing teachers and learned all of this amazing knowledge and wisdom from them, I was so grateful. And what I wanted to do was have others get this information and knowledge too, and be able to teach others. And that's kind of my way of being of service and giving back too. So yeah, last year was a year of transformation for me, for sure. I had been living in LA for the last 12 years, and I quit my corporate job, which I had been working in the corporate world, whether it was fashion or music, for about 27 years. And I loaded up my car and drove across the country and moved to Asheville, North Carolina, and that's where I am now. So yeah, it completely changed my life.
Yeah, that's inspiring. I'm still here, and I try to get out sometimes. I don't know what's really going to happen, but to be closer to the earth and to be in a more more natural environment where you can be more with the trees and the plants and things like that, I think also is really important for connection and for this kind of work.
Yes, I agree.
Tell us about the kind of work that you do.
Well, I read tarot cards, and what I really love doing, though, is teaching classes. So I just launched my first tarot course here in Asheville back in November, and I really didn't do anything, and the class sold out in 4 days. Wow. So I definitely saw that there was, and that was kind of the message that I got from my guides, was that I needed to come here to Asheville, because I was thinking about other places, but my guides told me to go where they felt I was needed most, and that was here. So I started my tarot course, and now I'm teaching my Green Witch magical herbs class. I'm teaching an introduction to crystals class. I'm teaching how to work with plants for self-care by making your own infused oils. I'm also doing witch's apothecary class, which is just talking about, some basic herbs, both medicinally and magically, that people should have, or witches should have in their apothecary. My favorite class to teach is my Green Witch class, and it's usually my most popular, and that is working with plants in ritual and ceremony. And that class really came out of the fact that I wanted to take that class and I could not find it anywhere. And so I decided that I was just going to create the class. So I did the research and I did the studying and I came up with the curriculum. And even as I was teaching the class as I was putting the class together, because there's all kinds of books out there that you can read on plant magic and working with plants. And, you know, these are somebody else's ideas of a lot of times the energy and the spirits working with them as an individual. And to me, the plants are just like people. Like, I'm gonna have a different relationship with you than I'm gonna have with another person. And same, if you two, then those two people had a relationship, it's gonna be different than the relationship you and I have together. So I look at plants as being spirits that you need to work with based on your own relationship with them. So one of the things that I teach in that class is go out and sit with the plants and listen to the plants and really get to know them, so that when you are working with them in ritual and ceremony, you have your own connection to them, and what they bring to your magic is unique to you and that plant. And I'll just give you an example. For me, lilac. So lilac is a plant that I gave my mother as a child. So for me, it always reminds me, whenever I smell lilac, I think of my mother. So that we know mothers are very nurturing and caring, usually, hopefully. But it also reminds me of being a child. So that's an imaginative energy and a playful energy. So for me, I don't need to look in any book to tell me how to work with lilac when I'm doing a magical working. I already know my relationship to that plant and its spirit and how it relates to me. So if I'm doing something that I want to bring in a nurturing energy or a playful or creative, lilac would be a plant that I would use, if that makes sense.
Exciting to hear about your classes. I wish I could be there too.
Well, funny you say that, because I am working on trying to get them up online. So yeah, so hopefully by the end of January, I'll at least have a first couple of my tarot courses up, and then I'll be adding more as the year goes on. So my goal is to put one up a month. We'll see if I can do that, because, you know, I'm not the most technical savvy person, but I'm figuring it out as I go. So
how about doing live classes? How does that feel to you?
Yeah, I guess I could do that too. I hadn't really thought of that. That's a good idea. Yeah, I like it.
I can teach you some of that tech stuff.
All right.
Yeah, because that's the thing that is amazing nowadays. It's like,
yes,
you can take witchy classes on your computer and you can just, you know, be at home. And that's a thing that is cool too, is for certain types of classes, it's really great to be at home with your altar or with all of your own supplies.
Right.
Especially if you're maybe doing some like ritual work or something like with herbs. So have all of your herbs already, that would be really cool.
Yeah, and just the fact that I could reach so many more people, because I do have people reach out to me, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook, and say, oh, I wish I was closer. I wish I could take your class. And I would like to give them that opportunity to be able to do that. So yeah, online classes, live classes. I'm hoping to do it all this year, I guess.
I met some awesome teachers last year from just kind of like following that, seeing somebody post for a class on Instagram. That's how I met Laura that I had on the show that did the Blood Mysteries portion, and her and Grail. I met them from taking her class online and then going up to Ashland, Oregon, and having such an amazing time up there with them and then bringing them down. And so it's really, even this interview we're doing live
right
on Zoom, and it's going live on our Facebook. And so there's all these really cool tools to use for sharing magic.
Yes.
So I'm really excited to hear that you're doing all of that. So the question that I would like to ask then is, how does it feel that that's the work that you're doing, as opposed to what you're doing maybe last year this time?
Well, I mean, starting and running your own business is a pretty daunting task. So although that can be frustrating at times and difficult, I always know the space where I come from and the reason why I'm doing it. And that feels so, so good on so many levels that makes it all worth it. So it does feel amazing. And you do feel empowered. And it's interesting because you put yourself out there like this and you don't know the response you're going to get. And it just trust yourself, because like if you're feeling the call, I just know I've just had so many people show up and support me in this work in so many different ways. So it's really rewarding. And I love like silly things. Like I could have paid someone to do my website, and I did have a friend help me through some of it, but I did it myself. And it may not be the best website in the world, but I did it. And that feels really good to me when you have those little accomplishments and it's something personal to you that you did yourself too.
Yeah, put some into it. I have this experience. I've also did my own website. I've done all of my sites and all of that stuff myself. And that for me just came from pure frustration, not being able to find someone that could do it or would do it, or just like all sorts of things. And so at some point I was just, okay, I'm the only way this is going to work is if we figure out how to do it all myself. And what is nice about that, as frustrating as it is that everything is online now, and there are so many like technological aspects that you do have to learn, and learning one site really helps you for learning another site. And
yes,
as frustrating as it is initially, it's really helpful to just like plow through, stick to it, and just figure out how to do it. And sometimes, you can ask for help and have somebody show you how to do it. But I have this, this foundational business program for women who are creating their spiritual businesses. They can take this program, and it's all the how-to steps, what to do first, what to do next, what sites to go to that are easier, how you create everything, how you create logos and flyers and business cards and your website. And, there's just so many things. But if we look at, like, it causes our brain to expand and grow.
Yeah.
We become more empowered for than doing something like having a live class on the internet, on Instagram, so that you can connect with people. Never would I have imagined that it would be like this technology that I used to be so resistant to, that would be what has like connected me to all of like my witchy priestess sisters has been the internet.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that. So what else can I ask you? So well, can you share with us how the name of your business and how people can find you? I'm going to put all that information in the notes. Yeah.
So it's Forest and Fawn Alchemy. And that's another thing when starting your business. I think I could have spent years trying to come up with a name. And sometimes you just gotta go with it. So forest, because of I love being in the trees and the forests, and that childhood memory that I shared earlier, that is probably one of my most vibrant memories that I have kind of as a child. So that's where the forest came from. And then fawn to me has just always been one of my spirit animals that I really connect to, is a deer. And so I use those two names. And then alchemy, because I'm such a mixture of all these different things between herbalism and yoga and tarot and alchemy and, all of this stuff that, and I really also like to take, the parts that really resonate with me from these things and kind of make things my own. I once had somebody say to me, like, you should just stick with one thing and just be really, really good at it. And it's just not me. That's for some people and that's great, but it's not for me. I like to dabble in everything. And so
those are the times.
What?
Those are the times that we're living in also.
Yeah. And really they all relate to each other. I mean, there is an underlying connection to all of them. So it's not like I'm combining, not that you couldn't, but I'm not combining like soccer and tarot cards. Like I'm combining, herbalism and tarot cards, So, so that's where the alchemy part came in. And then you can find me, my website is just Forest and Fawn. So that's easy enough. And then I have an Instagram and a Facebook page. I post a lot of my classes on Meetup as well, but you can get the links. Really, if you just go to my website, it has links to everything. So.
Something I was saying is that, we're waking up to all of our past lives. So you've definitely had more than one magical past life.
Right.
There is some of this in yoga where it's like, because I've studied yoga as well and used to teach, and there's this thing where you just pick one teacher and you only study with that one teacher. And I feel like martial arts was like that as well. Even though I did have a few different teachers, it was like you find your teacher and then you just kind of only stay with that teacher. And so it's similar like with these art forms. Maybe there was an idea back then where you were like this type of witch and that was it. Or you were a musician and you were doing Western mystery tradition, Hermeticism, Kabbalah. That's different than being like a green witch or a kitchen witch or an herb witch or whatever. Or Lisa Lister in her book Witch has an awesome part of this book that I love is that she has a breakdown of all the different types of witches that you can be. And so for the people that really feel like they need to identify with this one, she has it listed out for you. Or there's people who are like, well, I have a little bit of this and then I have a little bit of that. And there's so many of us right now that are really, I think it's because we've already done the work in our past lives. That's the way that I see it. And then it's like, yeah, there's a reason why I'm really connected to this and really connected to this both. And so there's no reason that in this new age that I need to choose. That's not the time that we're living in. Like I can use both. I can call myself a witch. I can call myself a magician. I can wear clothes all over my body. I can practice this and that. I can wear all black and have blonde hair. You know what I mean? It's just like, we can have the contrast and we can have everything and we can be this for a while and then we can go down this path for a while and you can do the different forms of yoga. And that is really exciting. It's empowering also. Allows us to, yeah.
Oh, and I just think too, like as a person, like I'm always evolving, like there was a time I had no tattoos and blonde hair, and now I'm covered in tattoos and have dark hair. Like you just evolve as a person. And so you have different interests and one thing leads to another kind of too. So I think it's kind of just natural to evolve as a person, as you're learning and seeking and looking for this wisdom and knowledge. So yeah, I have no problem with practicing many, many things.
I had kind of earlier, but I know what I wanted to have you share about was that not only are you teaching in Asheville, not only are you teaching online, but you also taught at Spirit Weavers last year.
Yes. So Spirit Weavers for me was an experience that was also very life-changing in a really positive way. So I had seen it, people were posting pictures and talking about it on social media. And I thought it looked amazing. And I was like, I want to go to this. And if you don't know what Spirit Weavers is, it's basically a gathering of women. and they share in ceremony, they share in ritual, they share their skills. There's ancestral skills, there's herbalism, there's crafting, there's cacao ceremony. It's just a mishmash of all kinds of different backgrounds and classes that are taught by women to women. And it's something that I had never experienced before, just being surrounded by that many women. So when I went, I was terrified. I went by myself. I'd never slept in a tent before. As a matter of fact, I tried putting it up in my living room in my Hollywood apartment like the week before I went. And I got it up, and I was, and then I drove to Northern California and pitched my tent. I was so excited that I got my tent up because I was the most nervous about that. And then someone came up and said, "I'm sorry, you can't camp there. That's kind of our ceremony and ritual area." And I had to undo my tent and move it. And I think she could see I was like about to cry because I was just like, no. And so she helped me. And at that point, I just knew I was going to be supported like the rest of the weekend. And I just stopped stressing and just enjoyed the journey. And it was so beautiful. I know you've been with a group of women before, and I mean, I don't know if you've been with a group of women this large before, like 600 women, where it's just women, but it holds a special energy where you just feel safe. And like, as a woman, for the first time in my life, I felt actually safe. Like, I didn't have to worry that somebody was going to say something to me, walking down the street. I didn't have to worry that I was going to say something, and when I say someone, usually a man, makes you feel stupid or cat calls you, or there was none of that. Like, you just were beautifully accepted as you are. You could wear makeup, not wear makeup. You could wear your pajamas all day. You could get in a beautiful dress, like, didn't matter. And it was like this alternate reality I'd never experienced before. So that was probably the coolest part of it. And then classes were amazing. I've met so many dear friends through Spirit Weavers, and I'd gone for 3 years before I finally got up the courage to ask to be a teacher. And so last year I was able to teach, and that felt really good to be able to give back. And it really didn't, matter to me how many people came to my classes or anything like that, even though it did. But I had great classes, and again, just so many great women. And if anybody gets the experience, whether it's Spirit Weavers or another gathering where you just get together with a large group of women where you can just feel safe and secure, it's just amazing. It's a little bit hard to come back into the real world after that. It's kind of a shock. So you just have to really learn to ease your way back into it. But yeah, it's an amazing experience. And I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to teach there. I'm going to try and make it this year. I'm not sure yet. It's a lot farther from Asheville, but we'll see. So.
Well, that sounds amazing. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of work with women, but I've not been at a 600 women only.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. Yeah,
the circles that night around the fire. I mean, there's hundreds of women gathered with drums and song, and it's, it like takes you back in time. Like, you feel like you're with your ancestors, so it's amazing.
Oh, thank you for sharing about that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on the show. I'm so excited to see you here, and so excited for your journey and all of your classes, and not being in corporate America anymore.
Well, thank you for having me. And I mean, you're an inspiration to me, all the work that you're doing. I feel like I'm just, in the midst of it, and you are so far beyond that. Maybe it doesn't feel like it to you, but But yeah, you truly are an inspiration. And thank you for going out and empowering women and people with the work you do.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging, and you're welcome. And it's all of us. It takes all of us. And I always say this, but we all have a seat in the circle. We all have a different part. And this podcast has been what it is also because of all of the women that I have brought onto the show. And so far, everybody that I've brought on the show is someone that I have known in my life personally, in one way or another, and women that have inspired me, and women that have made me feel like I have a sisterhood. And so it's also just, my honor to be able to share you with the rest of the world. So thank you so much for coming. I love you.
I love you.
We'll put all of Jillian's information in the show notes, and so you can take one of her classes and buy her products, and we'll see you soon. Okay, blessed be.
All right. Bye. Love you.